Welcome to Confirmation Bias, presented by the League Ambassadors.
I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and attention all you NBA losers. If you want to stop the impending Golden State Warrior dynasty, play defense. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Junior Blue, and Kevin Durant doesn't give a damn about what haters had to say about him going to Golden State, because he's now a champion, so he really doesn't give a fuck. And that's my confirmation bias.
I'm Ambassador Dad, and the Golden State Warriors really need to acknowledge Smart and Final and some of their success for winning this championship. That tater salad is what won it, and not Wanda's. And that's my confirmation bias.
I don't know if I've ever felt bad for a man who just won the championship, but the way Wanda beat his ass in public in front of everybody, she slapped him in his chest and almost caved him in. Then she grabbed his goatee in front of everybody. I was like, wait a second, something is going on here, and I didn't like it. I'm sorry, KD, and that's my confirmation bias.
And I'm Ambassador Chef Curry. I've decided that when I have a son, I'm going to leave him, because studies show that more single mothers get their sons to the NBA than anybody could. I'll see you on draft night, Kev. That's my confirmation bias.
Despite what Chef Curry said, the league ambassadors do not believe in single motherhood if we can help it. All right, welcome to episode 26 of Confirmation Bias, presented by the league ambassadors. Please feel free to follow us everywhere on all your social media platforms at the League AM. I'll repeat, at the League AM. And remember, liking is cool, but sharing is caring. We also need your feedback, so don't be afraid to comment on our website, YouTube page, or your favorite podcast catcher. We don't care if you hate us or love us. We just need to know either way. If you are watching on Facebook Live, please submit any questions you may have that arise from the show, and we will do our best to answer those questions on our diplomatic immunity segment at the end of the show. Diplomatic Immunity is also the name of our blog spot on the website at theleagueam.com. It's a place where fans can have a voice and be heard. If you have something to say, then say it. And with that, let's start the show with hot topics. We have a new NBA champion.
That too.
You didn't have it on the paper.
See?
The moment you went off book,
It was a disaster. KD. I mean, the man finally got what he wanted. You know, his plan worked. I think Game 5 went how most people thought Game 4 was going to go.
right.
You know, so where does Golden State go from here, and then where does Cleveland go from here?
Golden State keep
Golden
rolling.
State, the Jeffersons theme song is playing in Oakland right now.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
I think they just roll the ball out in October and say, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might not even go to training camp.
nothing to see here.
Yeah, they're in a good situation. I think a storm is brewing in Cleveland. I want you guys to remember when Tristan Thompson got his deal. All right, it took all the way till they got into training camp, and then he ended up getting $80 million.
Mr. Mouth to Mouth.
Last year, going into training camp, it was J.R. Smith, and then he had to get his deal. Okay, David Griffin, the GM, still can't get a contract done. I think one of two things is about to happen here. Number one, Dan Gilbert is going to go to LeBron. He's going to say, listen, everything from the coach, and I'm not even going to pay the GM because I'm going to tell the GM I don't have no money because they have been luxury tax offenders. Repeat luxury tax offenders since LeBron has been back.
The line is $121 million.
Which this is what, year 4?
This is year 4 of them going over. Dan Gilbert's going to go to LeBron. He's going to say, listen, everything from the coach, and you can hire whoever the next GM is. This is what the budget is for it. Find a GM for that. But everything from the coach on down has been here for you. We did this. We made these moves under the pretense that we were going to be repeat champions, and that hasn't happened. Don't ask me to bring anyone else in. You got to work with what you got. That's option number 1, okay? Or option number 2 is, and I want you to listen to this, Dan Gilbert is going to sell the team. They won a title. Their value now is going up 5-6-fold. You sell the team while the product is high, and you leave LeBron James to deal with the fallout and the mess. The point is, no help is coming, and Dan Gilbert has been really silent. And the fact that those contract extensions for Thompson and Smith, they went as long as they did, tells you what the organization's position was. They didn't want to do this deal. On top of the fact that when LeBron came back, if the guy that he got rid of is the guy that he needs right now, and that's Andrew Wiggins. And he got rid of him to bring in Kevin Love. They got all these max deals floating around, even for players that aren't max players. There's no more money to spend. There is a storm coming. Mark my words. There's a storm coming to Ohio this offseason.
I don't know if it's that type of storm, but I can tell you one thing. I don't think it is looking good for them. I mean, they've done everything, like you said, they've done everything LeBron had asked for. They had the highest payroll in the league. And, when the pieces that you say that you need to come in and win don't perform, i.e. Kevin Love, who, in my opinion, if y'all going to play him like that, then please trade him, because there's no way in the world Kevin Love should have been reduced to being a three-point shooter. I think, like you said, everyone is on the chopping block except for LeBron, but I think it makes it harder for most people to want to come to Cleveland not knowing if he's going to stay, because it seems like every time Cleveland loses in the playoffs, this guy's 1 foot out the door.
And I don't think people talk about that enough either, besides the fact that it's in Cleveland. Nobody wants to come to Cleveland as a free agent. But the fact that LeBron has a history of leaving, and people don't believe he's going to stay.
When you talk about trading pieces, though, the other thing to remember, guys, is that because they are over the luxury tax, the players that they get back, it's not like, okay, if we're whatever $50 million over, we can trade the pieces and still be $50 million over. When you trade, you got to trade, and those players that you get back have to keep you at the salary cap. You cannot then go over the luxury tax. So, all of this talk about trading for players, it's not going to be as easy as they make it seem. And they have no first-round picks to give for the next 50 years because of all of the machinations, again, that had to happen to get the team that LeBron is dealing with right now at this present moment.
One of the craziest things about the salary cap in Cleveland in particular is the way the contracts are set up. If they released all their pending free agents this year, their salary cap remains the same. I mean, the amount they pay out, $123 million, $125 million, if they don't sign back any of their free agents.
Right. Well, 125 is just in 8 players.
Yeah.
So that's not even the full roster. And they're already 100.
In order for them, what it makes it seem like, in order for them to actually do something, they would have to trade, like, say, Kevin Love for a younger, cheaper player who's on the rise.
You're not going to get value back.
Yeah, you're not going to get the value back.
Do you think Thibodeau would trade him back?
Hell no.
For what?
I don't think he like Wiggins.
No, he wouldn't trade him back. Nah. But they have to figure out something. I mean,
hey, Dev, look at me like, hey, man.
That might have been the realest answer today.
No, real.
You got to do something, dog.
Hey, July 1st, 2018, LeBron going away party.
Well, I was going to get to that. What were you saying, Kev?
I'm going to ask, what do you guys think? Well, who do you guys think does LeBron need to at least get back to the finals, or in some way take a series with Golden State past 6-7 games? Because they've added the ball dominant point guard, the scoring point guard. That doesn't work. He doesn't play both sides of the ball. They've added Kevin Love. Like I said, he's been reduced to a jump shooter, a la Chris Bosh in Miami. Tristan isn't that post presence. I mean,
he don't have hands.
What more does he need?
They need Brad Stevens and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, they need a coach. They need a coach. No. They need a coach that can coach them up defensively.
He's never been able to gel with any sort of coach. He's a coach killer. He
I'm
has
just
been throughout his
what
career.
I'm saying is it was one of my confirmation bias is this comes down to defense. It comes down to, and it's funny because they talk about they need two-way players. When did playing offense and defense become a specialty,
Yeah.
an optional?
Yeah.
We need,
Analytics.
a two-way player. Like basketball is offense and it's defense.
It's
So that's not a
analytics.
specialty. They need to play defense. That's what every team needs to do. This is not going to be about the answer is not in personnel. It's in playing defense.
Well, and another, what is sometimes it is part personnel because LeBron and Kevin Love don't fit together. It'd be different if to me LeBron played in the post, but he don't.
When you say that they don't fit together, I mean, how many points did they average in this series? How many points they scored last night?
Between the two of them?
120.
100
team or
100. No, the team. Exactly, the team.
120, 119, 120.
which goes to your point of defense.
Every night.
Yeah, but a lot of those were empty buckets. He drove to the hoop 10 times in a row and made 8 of those in the last when the game was over.
Whether it's beautiful or whether it's ugly, the fact of the matter is that they score points. It's not about what they're doing offensively; it's what they're not doing defensively. And it's not just them; it's the entire league.
It's the entire league. But I mean, since we all know that they got to do something, is trading Kyrie out of the question?
But what do you get back? That's the problem. Whatever you get back, that's
the
not gonna be an
the math is not going to work up. You're losing that deal.
Yeah.
You're going to lose that deal. And honestly, I mean, if Dan Gilbert is interested in keeping the team, and this is not on any intel or anything like that, but I mean, just you think about it from a business standpoint, their value is as high as it's going to be. But if he's thinking about keeping the team, you're not going to trade your youngest, most valuable asset.
But
The only dog you
he
have on
can't
the
sell
team?
the team though because anybody who's a prospective buyer is going to want to talk to LeBron before they buy and get something from him saying
he's only under contract one more year.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not my as a owner, that wouldn't, if I was Dan Gilbert, that wouldn't be my concern.
I'm talking about the buyer's concern.
Oh well, figure it out.
I definitely think they have to keep Kyrie, but I think he has to dedicate himself to changing his game. He can't just be one-dimensional. I get buckets and then give them up on the other end. And if you ask me personally, I blame Red O. He's too much of an influence in his son's life.
Are you saying Redo gives it up, Kev? Is that what you said?
I was at least going to go with get buckets.
Maybe we should.
All right,
go to something.
Maybe we should go to something French.
Oui. Moving on.
I don't think that actually helps your case, though.
It didn't, but I'm gonna let him ride with that one. He deserves a victory with that hairline.
Oh,
so Sunday we had unseeded 20-year-old Jelena Ostapenko.
come on.
Did I say that right?
Ooh.
Struggle life.
Not constipation.
Had a stunning upset victory over the number 3 seed Simona Halep.
Yep.
Okay. The first time since 1933 that an unseeded player beat a seeded player in French Open. Also, first time in 40 years that someone won a Grand Slam event as her first tour victory.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
So I said a few weeks ago in my confirmation or in my Black and Blue segment, where is the French Open wide open? And for the women, and apparently it definitely
It was wide open.
Wide open.
7 of the top 10 seeds lost early, didn't make it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And the number 1 seed lost in round 1.
I don't know if you guys actually saw that match, but, for all of those stats that you put out there, Omar, she didn't play like any of that. Meaning she, there wasn't, sometimes in tennis, when someone that's never won before is on the verge of winning, you can see the weight on every shot, every serve. This girl was going for it.
Well, she
Like
lost
she
the
didn't
first
know.
set. She lost the first set.
Yeah.
I rewind the game and made my son watch it because I had to show him what never giving up meant.
Yes.
She was down. She lost first
She
set.
lost the
6-4.
first set.
She was down 0-3 in the second set.
Yep.
And her mindset was grip it and rip it.
Grip it and rip. Yes.
Time.
That's exactly what it looked like. She
No
was
fear.
going for her shots. She was going for her shots. Yeah, I mean, that was impressive and very entertaining to see.
We're going to actually keep it tennis related to start our Black versus Blue segment. Over the weekend, Rafael Nadal.
You all right? You over there taking pills?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Won the French Open, his 10th title. And with Novak the Joker currently jinxed, Roger Federer 2,800 points behind, Andy Murray losing in the French Open semis. Is it hope or hype that Wimbledon, Rafael Nadal should be favored at Wimbledon? And I actually kick it to you, Omar, because I did have a question pertaining to what you went to over the last topic. And this, is the approach different playing on clay or on grass? Because Nadal's great, of course, on clay, but sometimes suffers.
It is 100% different because the difference between clay and grass is a faster surface, it's a slicker surface, and to answer your question, which goes towards what you just asked me, it's hype that he is what do you call that? That he's a favorite at Wimbledon because his weakness is right now. His physical weakness is his knees.
Them knees.
And since the ball doesn't pop up or jump up high, bounce up high enough on a grass surface, you have to bend down more and get it more into your shots, which will be hard on his knees.
Yeah, I also agree with you. I think it's hype. Because he actually said it himself that it would be a near possibility.
He said, no.
He said it would be a near
Not with my
possibility
knees.
because of my knees. So I think it's hype. But the last 2 times that he did not drop a set in the French Open, he won Wimbledon. And that's what he did this time.
He did do that.
Knees were a whole lot better back then.
Yeah.
What was it? 08 and
Yeah, he hasn't done
2010.
well at Wimbledon in a long time.
He's actually had a lot of injuries. The thing that's interesting, and I wonder if he's going to pull a Federer, which Federer skipped the French Open because he's in the middle of a career resurgence, undoubtedly. We don't know, and the thing is I call it the.
You skip Wimbledon?
I call
That's
it
the one.
I call it the Karl Malone syndrome. When you get as an athlete, when you get so old, and you know the clock's going to stop ticking at some point, but you don't know when. I think both Federer and Nadal are there. So Federer took the approach. I'm going to skip the French, get ready for Wimbledon. And I wonder if Nadal is going to do the same thing because it's not so much about being in every major. To your point, what you're saying, it is Wimbledon, but at the same time, if that's not, I've won a Wimbledon before. It's not my surface. It's going to be hard on my knees, and you got the hard court season coming up. So I just wonder
what he said was if it depends on how they feel. So he set it up.
He got 3 weeks. He got 3 weeks.
And the turnaround that's a quick turnaround.
So yeah. That is out there then because he did say that if my knees don't feel right, it won't be good.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Gonna switch it up and go to hockey here. Question for you guys: hit or flop after these exciting NHL playoffs, which we saw the Pittsburgh Penguins repeat as champions. As exciting as they were, does this mean you guys are gonna watch more hockey now?
Know what? I'll say this: I will watch more playoff hockey. And I might even go to a Kings game. But to be in the middle of January watching a hockey game at home, I doubt it.
I would say hit, Kev, just for the simple fact that I would always watch playoff hockey here and there, especially when the Caps were in it or when the Kings had that run a couple years ago. That was exciting.
Yep.
But I like you, it's kind of like baseball and regular season basketball to me. But I can say that I enjoy watching the Predators play, and the atmosphere in Nashville was absolutely off the chain. And I definitely got to get to a hockey game. It's one of the things I missed.
I'd say flop, just because I'd rather watch a basketball game, and their seasons basically are parallel. I'd rather watch a basketball game than a hockey game, and they have just as many games on the same nights. But definitely, when it's playoff time, always are tuning in. Because of the league ambassadors, obviously, have watched a lot more of it.
Right.
And so I would imagine that would continue. It's a great sport, though. And like you guys, want to get to another game, definitely.
Man, Minnesota versus freaking, I don't know, Toronto in November is not appealing.
In
For
hockey,
NBA.
Artie.
Yeah.
Which one?
I'm just, I mean,
Same team.
Same thing. That's
Well,
funny.
I would hate to agree with Charles Barkley for a third show in a row, but he's right. The NHL playoffs were a lot better than NBA, so we'll definitely see. And finally, newsworthy or nothing to see here. The MLB draft was this week where we saw 3 high school players, Royce Lewis, Hunter Green, and Mackenzie Gore, were all taken with the top 3 picks. Is this newsworthy or nothing to see here that MLB is also going to this youth movement?
I think it's newsworthy for the simple fact that it hasn't happened since 1990.
Chipper Jones, Tony Clark, Mike Lieberthal.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely something that hasn't. I mean, you weren't even born yet. Damn, Kev.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
June 1990. So
Give him his social while you at it. Gave up all the info.
but also, I mean, it's amazing, and I know it's high school, but the guy who went number 1, Royce Lewis, had 80 at bats and had 35 home runs. That's
He's a shortstop, right?
Yeah.
Well, to me, it's amazing. Both of them from Cali, so I'm gonna take that shot.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, two of them are from Cali.
Two of them are two of
but
the
the first
two.
two are also African American. Which one I couldn't
Walkers.
tell at first. Yeah. I saw a picture of him, took his hat off. I was like, oh, he is
Yeah.
black.
Hey, but they had to correct that quickly because the third pick was from Whitesville, North Carolina.
They had to bring it back home.
Wait a second. We need balance.
That's funny.
So yeah, I think it's newsworthy.
Yeah, newsworthy for sure.
Especially if it turns out how it happened in the 90s.
All right, on to Is You With It or Nah? This week it's not Kevin versus David.
Thank you, Les.
We got Omar versus Kenya.
Hey, why you fucking around? Let's get it back to the regular shit.
And we got judging is Kevin. So basically, with the NBA and NHL finals over with, we come up on them dog days of summer where baseball is king. That's the only thing on SportsCenter.
This is the new winter.
Yeah. So exactly. So when we've talked about in the past how baseball is losing some of its fans, and most of their fans are older. So soccer is the #1 sport in the world, or football as they call it across the pond. So my question, the debate question is, 10 years from now, which will be more popular in the U.S.? Will it be baseball or soccer? So let's see. Who's calling this in the air?
Let Kenyon call it.
Can I call it?
Heads.
It's heads.
I'm going. What I got to do?
Choose. Which one you going? What side?
Oh, I'll take soccer.
Soccer. So who goes first?
Kenyon go first.
Okay. There
Alright,
you go.
1 second here. Let me
We're going to get this clock going.
Ready?
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Go.
When comparing the immediate future of soccer in America to baseball's future, there is one word that makes soccer's prospects much more optimistic than baseball's, and that word is growth. As recently as 4 years ago, it was virtually impossible to view a professional soccer match on TV. Now, thanks to NBC Sports, Fox Sports, you can watch every game of the English Premier League and the German Bundesliga. Thanks to ESPN, you can follow the latest happenings of our national soccer teams and also watch the Super Bowl of soccer, the Champions League. Baseball, on the other hand, has had declining TV ratings for the past 15 years. Over that same period of time, not only has TV viewership declined, but also actual attendance in baseball games, or to baseball games, not only in the major leagues, but also the minor leagues themselves. Whereas you look at just Major League Soccer, the MLS here in America, there's been a significant boost in popularity. There were 10 to 12 teams when MLS started in the early 2000s. There are now 22, and it's expanding. It costs about $150 million now to actually buy or own a franchise in the MLS. Now let's go to the most important factor when thinking about growth, and that's young people. Baseball, as we know, has had sagging participation in Little League Baseball. As you already mentioned, Les, the #1 fan for baseball, both in viewership and also participation, is the older white male. Whereas in soccer has the youngest participation consistent active participation amongst young people in America. Also, you look at what the MLS teams are doing. And what they're doing is they're creating youth developmental programs that are creating stars like Mr. Christian Pulisic, who's leading our U.S. men's national team onto a World Cup, hopefully.
I feel like he thought you was the judge, Les. Kevin.
Are you ready, yo?
No, but let's go.
All right. You see the clock?
All right. Now, he gave you all types of pretty numbers, but one thing he hasn't talked about, which is the NASCAR effect, which is the word plateau. For about 5 years, everybody thought NASCAR was all these numbers every year. People were watching, people watching, people watching. But then it plateaued. Guess what? Soccer is starting to see the plateau. While there are some parts of MLS that's still showing growth, Univision is already down 8 to 9% in viewership this year alone, which will likely spread to other networks because of the MLS way. Now, I'm going to talk about the MLS way a little bit later. Over the last 20 years, MLS has had a great ratings growth. I mean, beautiful ratings growth. The problem is, when you're that low, any ratings growth is great. It looks good because you had nowhere to go but up. When your ratings are super duper in the trash horrible, and the next year you double those super duper in the trash horrible ratings, of course it looks exciting, but really the ratings went from super duper to just super trash. Still bad by any other standards. A couple months ago, a relegation game across the pond had more viewership on a Sunday morning than a primetime game between the current MLS champ Seattle and Atlanta, which is considered to be the most exciting team in the MLS. Which brings me back to the MLS way. The MLS way is to promote team support in a hyper-localized way. More about city pride, cheap family entertainment, and less about growing the game of soccer with people who love soccer. So now most fans don't care about anything but their local team and aren't willing to watch two random teams because they don't have any actual love of soccer. I think soccer will submit its spot past the fourth most popular in the U.S., which is hockey, but that's as far as they get.
Kev,
0 times
this
0
this
equals
was
0.
this one's kind of tough, right?
It was tough. It was a good debate, guys, both of you. Omar, I do have a question. Was that MLS way? Did you read that from that mission statement, or?
Nah, it's just. Is that in their mission statement?
It was, no, it was a good.
No, it was just pertaining to how they decided to promote the game. That was all.
That was good. It's tough. I'm gonna have to go with Kenyon on this one. Mainly the points you brought up about purchasing the team and the demographic of the fan base. At some point, I agree. The old folks die out and the youth carry it. So if anything, that would be the deciding factor for me.
I got a question. Can the league ambassadors get them a court going and buy a soccer team?
Hey, but one thing I did read.
Good question.
One thing I did read though, the number 2 pick was a product of the RBI program in Compton. He's one of the first to make it to the league, and also I wasn't aware that Chicago White Sox have a program called the ACE program, which the league is looking to expanding. They are sponsoring 180 Chicago youths from ages 6 to 17.
Chicago youths?
Yeah, youths.
Is this my cousin Vinny? The 2 youths. Is that? I mean, you think that's because of the success that the Little League teams had a couple years ago, even though they tried to?
Nah, I think it's more about. I think it's more about Chicago keeping those kids off the streets.
Yeah.
But it's a successful program, and the league is looking to that as the next model to get young players to play.
All right, so let's take a look at Diplomatic Community, where, again, our viewers watching us on Facebook Live can ask us questions, and we can try or attempt to answer them. So I have a question from Brother Scott Cameron. He says, given the feedback from the top prospects, workouts for the Lakers, who would you choose for your first-round pick? Let me ask Kevin, because he's the non-Laker fan.
I think I would take Lonzo, even though I like the kid Cox better. I think he's what you need. I think you can build a team around him. And
Kevin, I got one pressing
Got in your
question.
mind.
Who's Cox? And what are you thinking about?
What are you thinking about right now?
Hey, I'm talking about.
Omar, he started that between us earlier.
I didn't start nothing about Cox. Fuck that.
I'm done. I don't even like.
Hey,
I don't even like Lakers.
your brother did it. Put me in that shit.
Left.
I'm still with Jackson. I'm still with Josh Jackson.
Josh Jackson.
Yeah.
Any preference?
Lonzo.
Trade the pick.
Okay. One more question. Given the fact that Nadal is not going to either win Wimbledon per his knees, will it be the Joker or Murray? Will Murray finally start playing like a number one?
Neither. It's Federer. Federer
He's
is
back.
He took time off.
It's real. Federer.
Time off.
Yeah, and I would go on. I would say Federer versus Murray if they're on opposite sides of the bracket. That's your champion. But I like Federer versus Murray.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Wimbledon make sure
if they make sure that happens.
How do they seed? Is it 1, 2? Do they do that? Because right now Murray's 1 and Joker's 3, right?
Yeah, they don't necessarily go by the rankings when they do their seeding.
I'll tell you this. The first time they put Serena and Venus on the same draw, Pops threw a hissy fit, and it hasn't happened since. So they can control their seedings.
Yeah.
Okay. That's about it from Facebook Live land.
All right.
So back to you, Brother O.
Well, as we like to say, liking is cool, but sharing is caring. So please share with your friends, your not friends. Make sure you come join us Thursday for our next episode of Confirmation Bias. And we are out.
Peace.